If you're prepping for tech interviews right now, there are 10 questions that you're almost guaranteed to get, and nearly everyone answers them the exact same generic way every career blog tells them to. I run Wolf Mentoring, a done for you job search service for IT and tech leaders. We position you, find the right hiring managers, get you in the room, and prep you for it to nail it. Our clients land around 450 interviews every single month at companies like Google, Amazon, Meta, Anthropic, plus other scaling startups, and after every one, they report back on exactly what got asked. So we have a clear picture of what questions come up the most and how to answer them in a way that moves you to the next round. These are the same frameworks we use on our paid prep calls. The 10 most common tech interview questions and the answer structures that get you through. Stick around for number 4 because that is the one that trips even the VP and director candidates who think that they have gotten it handled. Every interview starts the same way. Tell me about yourself. It is the question 1 because it leads off basically every single interview you will ever sit in. And this is where it goes wrong. People freestyle it. They turn it into a resume walkthrough. They talk for 3 to 4 minutes without taking a breath. And then they have no idea on how to land the plane. No structure. So they keep going until the interviewer waits it out. We coach this question in terms of 4 beats. Let me show you with a real example. So here's a director of applied science at Twitch interviewing at Pinterest for a director of ML role in the growth team. So beat 1 will be the anchor. Connect what you do right now straight to what this role does. Something like, hey, I lead ML for content discovery at Twitch, recommendations, feed rankings, notifications, etc. The exact systems that decide whether a user comes back tomorrow or not. Now, B2, you talk about the needles you moved on the ones that map to this role. So, example, in the last 2 years, we grow engaged user base by 9% in A/B testing and cut down model shipping time by 70%. Now, B3 is the pattern of your career. Show how your past lines up with their present. So you say something like, in all of my recent roles, I have built the ML layer that sits between a user and the content that keeps them on the platform. This is the same problem Pinterest growth team is solving at a similar scale. And then comes the beat 4, and this one is the one almost everyone skips. Here, you frame the room. You do not end with yourself. You end with an observation, something a peer would notice, and it flips the whole thing from a one-way pitch into a conversation. Like, one thing I would like to explore would be that Pinterest is not only optimizing for engagement, you guys are also optimizing for inspiration. And that changes the objective functions in which most platforms never think about. So I've got a few specific questions on that. So now see how that ending is the difference. People think that this answer ends with them. It ends with a door that is open for you in form of a conversation now. Question 2. Why do you want to work here? Or the flip side, why are you leaving your current role? Totally expected, totally fair question, and still blows my mind how few people actually prepare for it. And there is one right answer here. And I can tell you right now, it is not the mission or the values of the company. It is not the equity or the bonus. Those answers are shallow and they do not touch what the hiring manager is actually asking. What they're asking is simpler than that. They have a problem, they have an opening, they need someone to solve it. So the right answer tells them 3 things at once. 1, that you have solved this exact problem before in a similar environment. 2, you like solving it. And 3, the direction that they are headed in is where you also want to go next in your career. So for example, say you are a platform engineering leader, right? You spent 3 years building an AI and data platform from scratch at a mid-sized company. It is done, it is running, and now you are across from the CTO of a company that is 10 times the size with the same problem at a scale that you have never touched. Your answer is not that like, hey, I love what you guys are building here. It is, hey, I built this in a constrained environment once before, figuring it out as I went. What you're doing here is the same problem at a scale where it can be done right from the first time, from the get-go, right? This is the challenge I want to own next. That tells them that you have been there. You are not coming here to learn, you're coming here to execute. And the role is not a lateral move. It is your obvious next chapter. Now, let's say if they ask, why are you looking to leave your current role? Because like you said, everything is going fine. You say that the initiative that you were brought in for building from that role, whether it was the scaling, building, or transforming something, is done. It is in maintenance mode right now, which is not the same challenge. So you're looking for the obvious next one. And if the real reason is that your company is struggling, that or you've got laid off, then say the real thing. Do not trash your employer. You can be honest about a bad situation still without making it a hit job. Question 3. What are your salary expectations? This one usually comes up in the recruiter round. So this is the answer for that moment. When a recruiter asks you for a number and you say, well, what's the range? Or you just failed a test that you did not know that you were even taking. And the worst part is that you think that you are being strategic by asking back to the number, but instead you are coming across as indecisive and unprepared. And those are the two things that no recruiter will ever forget. So let me tell you what is happening on the other side in that call. This is not a salary negotiation conversation. It is a qualification question. They have 60 other candidates and they need to know if they can afford you. That's it. And secondly, you're not selling yourself short here by saying your number first. If you come in a little below their range, they will correct you. They will do not penalize you, right? And you always have room to negotiate later once you have shown the value. Now, thirdly, the one people that do not think about, if your number is way outside their range, but you never bring it up in the first conversation and they keep moving you forward and you burn 6 rounds of interviews only to find that like, hey, they cannot afford you. So instead, do the opposite. Just say the number below which you would not even consider making this move. And this is not weak, this is clarity, and clarity gets you a lot further than playing games ever will. So out loud, it sounds something like this. Hey, so for base comp, I'm looking for something 260K and above, and on the upside, bonus, stock, and equity, I would love to see the role and my deliverables, and I would like to tie them to those what I deliver. Question number 4, what is your leadership style? Same answer works if they ask you about like how do you build a high performing team culture, and this is the one I told you to stick around for, because it trips up even the VP and director level candidates, the people who genuinely think that they have it handled. What they do wrong here is they answer it vaguely. They reach for fluffy language borrowed from self-help books, something like, oh, I'm a servant leader, I lead by example. Everyone, and I mean everyone, gives that answer, and it tells the interviewer nothing. What the interviewer wants is the real framework of how you lead, not a label. And a framework is something specific and repeatable. So for example, if I do X, then Y happens. If I do more of X, then I get more of Y. That is a framework. That is a simple, straightforward input-output equation. And if you are a good leader, then you already have one. You have just never said it out loud. So when a VP gives me a fluffy answer on a prep call, I do not ask them to name their style. I ask them for examples, right? The top 3 things that you did that made your team do more of what was working, get better at what wasn't, and trying things that they thought were never possible. How did you make that change happen? And when they tell me those stories, I turn those into the pillars of their framework. We reverse engineer it from what you have already done. Your job as a leader is to convince people and move them to action. So if you are great at that, then you are doing 5 things. You set clear goals and expectations, right? So people know exactly what matters. You give them ownership, so your team steps up. You keep up the communication clear, proactive, and no surprises. You support your team so that they stay motivated, and then you help them make decisions and move forward when things are unclear. That is your framework. That is your leadership style. And this is close to an answer one of our clients gave me. Most people would say that I'm a servant leader, but that is to say it's an easy way out. My style comes down to 3 principles. One is I set the right expectation, and that is not a water cooler chat. It is a written contract between me and my employee, agreed on by both sides. 2, I drive deliverables of KPIs. Performance reviews here are more than just half subjective, and as an engineer myself, I want it to be as unsubjective as I can make it. And 3 is when somebody's underperforming, I ask them, how can I help? Coaching, a trainer, a better environment, right? And one more thing, I bucket my people. The strong hitters who want the next level in 3 months, and the ones who are great at their operational work and are happy there. I treat those 2 groups differently because go-getters need more and better responsibilities. Now notice what just happened. This is not a better sounding servant leader answer. It's a completely different thing. It is a system in their own words, and they can run it again tomorrow. Now, quick thing before we move on, if you would rather have someone handle your entire job search for you, that is what we do here at Wolf Mentoring. Resumes, positioning, finding the hiring managers, getting you in the room and prepping you for those exact questions. We take your complete ownership of your job search, and we work with you until you accept an offer that you're happy with. If that sounds like something that you need, go to wolfmentoring.com. Question number 5 is, what is your hiring philosophy? You get this when the role involves building or scaling a team, and they are checking for 2 things. Do you know how to find and attract the top talent? And do you have a structured approach instead of just hiring reactively or instinctively? What they do not want here is fluff. Something like, oh, I hire smart people and get out of their way, right? I hire passionate people. Everyone says that. Be specific about how you evaluate it. And the framework is 3 clear areas: skills, character traits, and the team fit. Skills, these are basically you're looking for technically strong with a track record of solving the kind of problems that you're facing, plus adaptability. Can they learn fast and handle shifting priorities? Second is character, ownership, curiosity, and resilience, right? People who take initiative, hard decisions, and bounce back from those setbacks. And thirdly, team fit. And I do not mean everyone being the same. I mean by people who challenge the status quo while still collaborating well. So this is all I'm looking for is diversity of thought primarily. And when you're building from scratch, talk about your foundational hires. A strong technical leads who shapes the architecture and standards, and a product-oriented person to make sure that you build the right thing, and someone with a bias for execution to get the momentum going early on. Often the second person and the third person are the same. If you're hiring leaders, look at their ability to attract and develop talent, not just their own individual contributor skills. And to find top people, you do not just rely on job postings. You tap into the network and reach out to high performers who are not even looking yet. The piece that makes this land: if you are building or restructuring a team, name your first key hire, the one person who can help you hire more and scale while keeping the operations running. Question number 6: how do you take care of your strong performers versus your weak ones? Right? This is about performance management. Start with the weak performers, because the diagnostic is the useful part. Nobody who just wakes up and decides to perform badly. So step 1 is the observation. What actually tells me the performance has dropped? It cannot be a feeling. And if the performance in fact did drop, then in my experience, it is one of the 3 reasons, right? Expectations, tools and trainings, or intent. I checked the first 2 first. Were they clear on what to do and by when? Did they have the skills and the tools? Because if it's either of those, then it is on me as a leader to fix. So I reset the expectations and pair them with someone experienced who can coach them. But if it's the intent part, if they have lost the drive, then I look for the root cause. Is it temporary and fixable? Something at home, feeling overwhelmed, not seeing the value in the work over here? If they were the right hire, that is usually it. And I support them to get the drive back, or they are mentally checked out and already eyeing an exit, in which case it is better we part ways sooner rather than later. For your top performance, you look for 2 things. One is what enabled them, the training, was it the process, the trait, and you double down on it. And what drives them, that is the money, responsibility, or promotion, or praise, or growth. You find it and you give them exactly that on top of the pay, so you're rewarding the right behavior. Question 7: how do you influence someone, especially without hierarchy? Tell me about a time when you had to influence someone. Now, this one runs on a story framework, so it is the same one that you will use for the next 2 questions as well. So learn it once. 3 parts: situation, what you did, and the results. In situation, set the context fast, what needed to be solving, why it mattered, and how you found out the real problem. For example, we were missing the enterprise adoption target and the churn was climbing with mid-market customers. Interviews and usage data made it clear that the bottleneck was onboarding friction, not the product. That signals judgment, not luck. Next up is what you did. This is the core, and this is where seniority shows. Decisions, not tasks. What you chose, what you deliberately did and did not do, the trade-offs, the risks you managed. For example, we paused a new feature development for a quarter, moved 2 senior engineers over, and rebuilt onboarding. Lastly comes the results, and results are not just outcomes, they are a signal of how you think. So definitely talk about the second order outcomes as well. So like what happened as a result of you achieving your primary objective, as well as what did you learn either through success or failure. And the good thing about great leaders is that they learn from successes as well. So for example, onboarding dropped from 10 days to 2 days, activation went up by 40%, support tickets were down by 30%. The lesson was solving the right bottleneck beats shipping more features. For this question, you put the weight on influence then, right? That you did not lean on hierarchy. You built an alignment through narrative, data, and trust, that you handled resistance, you managed conflicts. These are the aspects in your example that you're focusing more on. This is what they're testing. Question number 8, give me a time you drove a major initiative or a change and how you planned and executed it. Same story spine, just a bigger canvas. Walk them through 7 things and use real examples so it lands. Say you're overhauling the company's IT infrastructure. 1, you turn the problem into a program, not the system is old. It is. We lack the scalability and it is slowing us down at the peak, so the program becomes an upgrade for scalability and performance. Now this is focused, not vague. Now second is executive buy-in. framed in their language. How does this cut the cost, raise revenue, make us more competitive? You show the ROI. Third is risk. Data migration is the obvious one, so you stage it with parallel systems until the cutover is clean with contingencies for downtime and training gaps. 4 is KPI, so you watch in real time the uptime, the productivity, the user satisfaction, so you catch the problem before it snowballs. 5 is stakeholder management, which is like herding cats. Execs hear long-term value, the tech team gets timelines, and users hear how this makes their day easier. 6 is measuring success beyond the KPIs. So did the productivity go up? Did issues go down? 7, driving adoption, which makes or breaks it. So this involves training, support, and early adopters who become the go-to people. So the new system feels like a tool that helps, not a burden. Question 9. Tell me about a time that you solved an ambiguous problem. This one borrows the exact same situation, what you did, results, structure from question 7. The only thing that changes here is the emphasis. A strong ambiguity story has 3 markers. There was no clear problem definition at the start. You created the structure for yourself, the metrics, the roadmap, the priorities, and you iterated fast and adjusted as you went, right? That is the whole point of this question. Not that you solved it, but that you built the order when there wasn't any. And lastly, question 10, what is your weakness? People are comfortable talking about strengths. Very few people answer this one well. When a hiring manager asks your weakness, they're not trying to catch you out. They are checking for one thing, self-awareness. And senior leaders blow it constantly in one of the 2 ways. Trap 1, you name a weakness that directly conflicts with the role. So for example, you're interviewing for a product leadership role and you say like, hey, I struggle with prioritization when I have too much on my plate. Then you just told them that you cannot do the job. Trap 2 is you get clever and dress up a strength as a weakness. So for example, oh, I'm a perfectionist. Every interviewer has heard that 1,000 times, and it reads like you're not being willing to even be honest or put in the effort, which is opposite of self-awareness. And if you say that you do not have any weaknesses, well, then that right there is your biggest weakness. So do this instead. Take a personality test. I do like 16personalities.com. Go to the strengths and weaknesses section there and find this one thing that is genuinely true about you and does not directly undermine the role. Here's mine. I'm a commander type, my way or the highway. I'm dismissive of new ideas as I see as distractions, sometimes even the good ones, right? If they pull me off my main goal, I'm getting pissed by it. That is real, that is me. And then the part people skip, tell them how you manage it, because awareness without management is just a confession. So for me, I have learned to insert a pause when a new idea comes in, so I do not fire back with a sharp dismissal before I've even heard it. That answer shows awareness, it shows growth, and it shows you are honest enough to say something true in the room where most people are performing. That is what you gets into the next round. So that is 10. Anchor your intro, reframe why you want the role, say your number, build your leadership framework from your own stories instead of a borrowed language. But none of this fixes the bigger problem. Knowing how to nail an interview only matters if you have the interviews lined up in the first place. And for most tech leaders, that is the real bottleneck. So go watch this next video where I show you exactly how to get to the right interviews on your calendar without grinding through the job boards. And this is the part that has to come first.